Hey, record living friends, this is Brian here from Tokyo Record Style. It is the heart of Saturday night. It is 3 a.m., 2:40 a.m. on Saturday night, September 10th. What is this? 10th. It's 10th. And tomorrow is my birthday. And so I wanted to make this video actually for myself. And I'm doing this for a couple of reasons. One is because this is probably one of my favorite artists that I want to talk about today. Probably my favorite artist, one of my favorite artists, top three, I'd even say. And another friend of mine had asked me for sort of a crash course, a primer in Mr. Tom Waits. So what I thought I would do is kind of I just went on a deep Tom Waits dive myself. And I thought I would talk about Tom Waits, and for anybody who's never tapped into Tom Waits or who loves Tom Waits, or who's curious about Tom Waits but you haven't quite checked him out yet, I'm gonna go deep here, and this could be a little bit of a train wreck because the thing about Tom Waits for me, for whatever reason, is I have a lot of his albums, nearly all of them. But I know all the songs, and I know all the words, and I know all the melodies, but I don't know the names of them. I looked at I'm looking at the record labels and the albums and the various songs, and it's kind of like I listened to 10 Tom Waits records today. I know all the songs, but I'm not going to be able to pull off not too many specific songs. Yeah, probably some, but not too specific, not too many. Now, first I thought I would mention like how I came to Tom Waits. I was in South Dakota, of all places. I had a Volkswagen Campmobile. I was driving from Colorado to New York, made it as far as South Dakota, broke down, met another traveler coming from New York to Seattle, who was also driving a Volkswagen van, and we hooked up and were just pals for about 3 weeks while we were both broke down in random South Dakota, just totally random circumstances. And we were at the Salvation Army, and there was a cassette of Tom Waits's Swordfish Trombones. And she said, "Oh, Tom Waits Swordfish Trombones in the middle of South Dakota. We got to get this." And I said, "Who's that?" And she was like, "You don't know Tom Waits?" I said, I don't know. And I got the CD here. And she said, "Oh my God, it's like one of the best American artists. We got to get Tom Waits on cassette," right? So I was like, okay. So we got this cassette of Tom Waits. And so this was my introduction to Tom Waits, Swordfish Trombones. And this is kind of the crossroads of Tom Waits, of the old stuff and the new stuff. And I had never heard anything like this. I'd never heard anything in all the music that I'd ever heard up until then. I'd never heard anything like this. And it totally captured my imagination. And it was from there that I went backwards and forwards on my Tom Waits journey. So I'm going to get to that one. That one's Swordfish Trombones. But first I'm going to give you a little bit of info about Tom Waits, just in case you didn't know. He's born in 1949 in California. Legend has it he was born in a yellow cab, but aren't yellow cabs like a New York thing? Anyway, don't let the truth get between you and a good story. His birthday is December 7th. He sings about the underbelly of society, according to Wikipedia. He's known for his gravelly voice. He sings jazz, blues, rock, vaudeville, and experiment. He's married to Kathleen Brennan, who is his co-writer, co-writer on so many of his songs from a certain point of his discography, and a very important character in his musical career. Interestingly, he learned to play the bugle first, followed by the guitar and the ukulele. He taught himself, and he was inspired by Ray Charles, Wilson Pickett, Roy Orbison, Howlin' Wolf, Randy Newman, Dr. John, the Stones, and Beefheart, to name a few. A bit of a troublemaker in school. When he started playing shows, he covered a lot of Dylan songs and Red Sovine. I know one Red Sovine song. Maybe I know a handful of others. He kind of bounced between New York and LA, but he's kind of famous. He was a sort of resident. He was a resident at the famous Troubadour Theater in Los Angeles. He opened for Zappa. I didn't know, like on 2 tours, and he was booed off stage on like repeatedly, had like proper fruit thrown at him. And but it helped to get him some notoriety. And I'm going to do another deep dive on Zappa, and I'm probably going to do this one again with a little bit more practice. But I thought I have to do this. It's the Heart of Saturday Night, which is one of his songs and one of his albums, and this is the Heart of Saturday Night. So I can't wait another minute to do this. You know, he's been called the Prince of Melancholy by Jim Jarmusch. There's a Jack Kerouac quality about him. He dated briefly Bette Midler and Ricky Lee Jones. He's been called the Sand and Sandwich, Bard of the Streets, the elder statesman of alternative rock, and one of the most important American artists. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. So why don't I just go ahead and kick it off? Now, I'm not going to go in order here exactly, because you've got, basically with Tom Waits, you've got compilations, you've got canon albums that go through the ages, you've got labels. He moved from label to label, and you've got live albums scattered. So I'm going to go in semi-chronological order, but yes, I'm going to go through semi-chronological order if I can, starting with something that came out. These would be considered compilations. They came out long after his debut records came out, but they are called the Tom Waits Early Years. This is Volume 1, and this is Volume 2. I don't have Volume 2 on vinyl, but these are excellent. And the crazy thing about this was really like, this was almost like the second thing that I discovered of Tom Waits. I find out what years these came out, but yeah, 91. So I discovered Tom Waits in probably 97 or something like that. And so this was even made before I came out, but I heard and this is filled with just singer, songwriter, guitar, and piano, almost like folk songs. This has got Old 55. Volume 1's got Going Down Slow, Poncho's Lament, Ice Cream Man, like kind of a different version than the one that came along later. Virginia Avenue, that was like a walking down, one of his drunken tunes from the drunken sort of street bar days. But here, this is like an old sort of demo version of it. So these Volume 1 and 2s, they have like these early recordings, kind of demo versions of songs that later came on his albums, and they are excellent. And this was kind of before they were released later, but they were recorded before he got really going with his musical career. So those are two great records to check out. Then his debut album is great cover art, Closing Time. And I can even see the date I got on this. I got this in 2003, March. Well, I think the record store got it in March 2003, and I paid $15 for it, and that was expensive for this record back then. And this is the debut record. It's got Old 55 of I Hope That I Don't Fall in Love with You, Martha, Grapefruit Moon, Closing Time. It's kind of like a jazz bar piano based album. It's really good. It's, imagine like sort of Piano Man, jazz club, just lonely guy, late night at the bar and not so many people there, Piano Man sort of vibe. It's a really great killer album that demands that you listen to at night. I'll mention it was recorded during the day. They actually couldn't get the studio at night. They really wanted to record it at night, but they couldn't. And it was produced by a member from Love and Spoonful, and it would be the first of 7 records on the Asylum label. That was the Asylum label. So, and there he is, looking quite handsome. I'm sure the ladies will. Tom Waits. So what's funny is that his second album after that is The Heart of Saturday Night, which I actually don't have. I thought I had it, but I guess I don't have it. And The Heart of Saturday Night is sort of like part two of Closing Time. It was from 74. Closing Time's from 73. Heart of Saturday Night's from 74. It's produced by Bones Howell, who he continued producing music with for 10 years. It's sort of another boozy, street, drunken, stumble down the road kind of album. It's got a bunch of great songs. Please Call Me Baby, Shiver Me Timber, San Diego Serenade, which is so good. He was born not too far from San Diego, and New Coat of Paint. Following that record is a record some of you might know, Nighthawks at the Diner, which is kind of a live version of the two previous albums. It's not exactly live. You'd think it was live, but actually it's a kind of a funny story. And of course this references that famous painting by Edward Hopper's painting, Nighthawks, the one on the corner, with the neon lights or whatever. This was actually, they wanted to record those sort of live sessions, but they wanted a studio atmosphere. So they took it to the record plant, and they had like one room in there that was quite big, and they moved some tables and invited all their friends. And even though you think it's like a live jazz club, it's like it's a pop-up jazz club. And it's got Emotional Weather Report, Eggs and Sausage. There's a lot of banter between him and the band. There's a lot of like little chatter between all the songs. It's really funny. You're Better Off Without a Wife, Nighthawk Postcards. It had a couple different names. Warm Beer and Cold Women. Putnam County is so good. And then finally it has Big Joe and Phantom 309, I think takes up most of side 4. It's this kind of sing-songy story about a hitchhiker who this like hitchhiker picks him up, or this truck driver picks him up and tells him stories of the highway and how he was, just tells him these great stories, and he smokes all his cigarette. They smoke all the cigarettes, and the truck driver throws him a dime, and he goes into the coffee shop where he drives him off, and he says, "Hey, give me a cup of Joe. This cup's on Big Joe." And everybody in the shop is like, "Who? Big Joe? He died 10 years ago on a lonely, rainy night." So it's a great story. I think there's a scene from, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, where it's like, "Tell him Large Marge sent you." It's like from this sort of, from this idea. So from Nighthawks at the Diner, that's a double LP, really good one. These kind of go I almost want to throw these together. Small Change, which is a great album cover. Him in sort of like a cabaret backstage with the sort of showgirl pasties. She's got some, maybe the woman who she is someone rather famous, but she's not quite sure if it's her or not. And here's Tom Waits sort of solidifying his identity as a late night street guy. Small Change. This was his biggest record to date. This was bigger than the first two. It was famously, it has Tom Trobert's Blues on it. It's got Waltzing Matilda. It's got that song on it. That really long sort of Visions of Johanna, this beautiful long song. It's got a lot of lyrics, and it's based on the melody Waltzing Matilda. And wasted and wounded ain't what the wounded. I got what I paid for now. One of his masterpieces. And a song that I heard that he closed his shows with. This one also has The Piano Has Been Drinking, Not Me. This one is and Pacey's in a G String and Small Change, and this is a really killer record. Following that one was Foreign Affairs, which I actually don't have Foreign Affairs. And I don't think I've ever owned Foreign Affairs. I'm not sure if I even owned it on CD, but I know the songs on it. Foreign Affairs was a continuation of Beatnik Glory meets Hollywood Noir. And that one, he famously sings a duet with Bette Midler on called I Never Talk to Strangers. And it's about like he's at the one end of the bar and she's at the other, and they're the last two people in the bar. And I never talked, and he's trying to pick her up, and she's like, no thanks. Great tune. I Never Talk to Strangers. It was said that it was like a black and white movie. And it's got Burma Shave on it. And Burma Shave is, I went to Burma. I went to Myanmar, and I got a shave. I got a shave in Burma for this song. A great tune, Burma Shave, and Muriel's also on there. And then we've got Blue Valentine, all the way from Philadelphia. This killer record, Blue Valentine. Blue Valentine is from '78. There's a song Somewhere is from West Side Story. It's the first track. And this one's got, Michael, this one's for you. This has got Christmas Card from a Hooker in Minneapolis. This is another epic letter. It's a letter from a gal who's writing up her boyfriend, and she's stuck in, she's in dire straits and she needs his help, and she's sending him a Christmas card. So, Blue Valentine, what else does this have on it? Wrong Side of the Road, Romeo is Bleeding. That's a kid. Romeo is Bleeding. It's like, oh man, it's a really killer one. And I think this is Ricky Lee Jones on the back, who he dated for some time. But unfortunately, like, she had a little bit of a drug situation happening. And her record, Pirates, was her lamenting about him not being able to, or about her loss of him. Cool old car with some paint job on it. Sorry for the glare. Okay, we're gonna keep going. Then we've got Heart Attack and Vine. I think this might be his last. Yeah, this is his final Asylum record. Morbid Pathos is one way this record has been described. This record has Heart Attack and Vine, which it's like meant to be like a street. I met you on the corner of Heart Attack and Vine. This one's got Jersey Girl, famously covered by Bruce Springsteen, I think. And it's got Downtown. Is that Downtown? That's the one. I think that's famously covered by Rod Stewart. And Mr. Siegel and what other, On the Nickel. So, and this one was Levi's Jeans wanted a song off. They wanted Heart Attack and Vine for one of their commercials, and he said no. And Levi's made a song. They commissioned a song from some other artist, and you sang like this, and basically made the song a Tom Waits song. And he sued Levi's, and I think he won quite big. There may have been also a story of like him. What was that? When did that happen? There was a funny story about him getting in a fight with the police at like a donut shop, and he won. He won the case. I think Tom Waits, he's been lucky in court. I think every time he doesn't let people use his songs, and when it's happened, and I think it's happened more frequently than you'd think, I think he's won. He's pretty litigious about his people using his music. The next one up, this is not canon per se. This is a soundtrack for One from the Heart. God, is this that movie that's been made like 3 times or 10 times? Actually, I don't think I've seen any of them, and I haven't seen this one either. So this is Francis Ford Coppola's crazy Vegas movie. I think it got semi big acclaim, and I can't tell you who's in I want to say Liza Minnelli, but I don't think that's Liza Minnelli. But Crystal Gayle and Tom Waits sing duets. It's a continuation of the sort of ballad singer, jazz singer. Francis Ford Coppola said, I want you to make me a bunch of songs for this record, and I want them to all sound like the previous 5 albums. And he was like, I'm trying, kind of heading away from that direction. But he thought it would be a good move, so he went ahead and did it. And this was the 10th and final record that he did with Bones Howe. So it's a good one. It's real cheap. You can find this one for really cheap. All these other ones, they've gone way up in price. Then Tom Waits leaves Asylum Records. And it was funny because when I was sort of like I didn't really know which ones are Asylum and which ones were Island. He went to Island after that, and then he went to Epitaph, or a sub label of Epitaph called Anti after Island. But I didn't really know the which ones belonged to which labels, and I started separating the albums just on like which ones sound together, and like I to a T, all the Asylum records ended up in the Asylum pile, all the Island records ended up in the Island record, which was kind of interesting. Because when he changed labels, he completely changed the sound of his music. And the first one that was on Island Records was Swordfish Trombones. Now, like I said, this record, something that I thought I heard once said about this record is that this record could be recorded today. It could be recorded 50 years ago or 80 years ago, and it would all, each time it would sound appropriate in that decade or in that time. It is out of time. It's a really crazy record with very bizarre, just complicated and beautifully, just, I want to say dissonant, but that's not what it is. I really recommend this record. I don't know if it's the best starting point for Tom Waits, but it hit me like a ton of bricks. It hit me like just a slap across the face. And this is the one that like really, it's got Underground, Johannesburg, 16 shells from a 30-06. I'm gonna whittle you into kindling. I mean, it's got Frank's Wild Years. Frank's Wild Years is about this guy who, it's another song, one of his characters where this worker comes home, he is just factory work, he's driving his car home, and he just decides he doesn't want to go back to his wife and his chihuahua and the tuna casserole, and he just goes to the gas station and he torches the place. And it's quite morbid, but it's kind of funny too. And so Frank appears on Swordfish Trombones, and you don't really think much about it, but this also has Down, 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 Rainbirds. But, and then you've got Rain Dogs, which is probably one of his most easily recognizable albums. I feel like this is one of the first records that people come to. This is number 2 in sort of a 3-part trilogy that starts with Swordfish Trombones, goes to Rain Dogs, and then ends up on Frank's Wild Years. But about Rain Dogs, it's also like beautiful instrumentation. You're starting to hear like glockenspiel and like slamming doors and things like this. This one's got Singapore on it, which is a wild track. It's got Big Black Mariah, which Keith Richards plays on it, and I think sings on actually. It's got Time. It's a beautiful, beautiful song. Blind Love, which is like a standard. I'm guessing that a lot of people have recorded this song. And it has Anywhere I Lay My Head, which is really cool. I got this at Wax Tracks in 2002 for 700 yen. And a lot of people wonder if this is Tom Waits. And even though this character looks like Tom Waits, it's not Tom Waits. It's meant to evoke a sense of, what did they call it? Urban dispossessed. It's kind of like, melancholy, idiosyncratic American style. And this is the one where I think the producer was like, what are we doing recording? You're hitting the washing machine. Like, let's just record a drum and then we'll fix it in post, we'll fix it in the mixing board. And Tom says, I like it better when I catch my sounds and skin them myself and cook them up and grill them and eat them myself. So yeah, and then that was actually the first record that he played with Marc Ribot, and the first album that Marc Ribot actually played on, who's a famous guitar player. And I really kind of like that these are photographed. They're photographic, being a photo head. This is like a tintype, it's like a black and white what are they like? What's that word? Collodion print, like collodion tintype, like old black and white photo, but like hand painted. And then you just have this like beautiful sort of intimate portrait, and this laugh looks so genuine. I really love these covers. And same for the third and final installment of the Island trilogy, Frank's Wild Years. Now, Frank's Wild Years has an amazing song list on it. Oh my God, Yesterday Is Here is so haunting. And then this is the one. This became a play. Now, Frank is the Frank from, well, it's said that it's the Frank from who burned the house down in Swordfish Trombones. And I believe this became a play that ran in Chicago for like 3 months. A play by the same name. It played at the Briar Street Theater in Chicago by the Steppenwolf Theater Company. And as I was listening to it, I was writing down, and I wrote, old TV, scary horror movie, but not scary. Like the Titanic sinking. I saw the old black and white Titanic movie when I was a kid, and it kind of bugged me out. It was the first maybe black and white movie that I ever watched. And have that one on CD too, yeah, that trilogy. So those are killer, the Island Years. And then he supported that round with, this is a live record. This was the last 4 shows of the 87, I believe it was, 87 tour, Big Time. And I just love the back cover of this record. I mean, he looks like, a little bit like Max Headroom. And I know the video is getting long here, but I'm just going to keep going for it. This one, again, has 16 shells from a third. And I tell you, like, Tom Waits live albums, killer. Super, super good. I go back and listen to the live albums. There's only a couple of them, more than I listen to. I mean, Nighthawks at the Diner, even though it's not exactly live, it is live. And I think, one of the strategies that they did was, record live. And I think Bones Howell said, it's okay if the sounds from the other instruments bleed into the other mics, because it connects the instruments, and it connects the feel of the room. So live is very cool. This one's got, oh my God, every song on here is amazing. Big Black Mariah, 16 shells from a cold ground way down in the hole. And I think this is like, I think it became like a movie. Like, I think you can see this. I don't know if I've seen it before. I've seen this before, but I think I've only seen it once. Mark Ribot, Greg Cohen, Ralph Carney. Yeah, I mean, amazing sounding record. Thank you very much. It's got quite a bit of that. He's got the pencil thin mustache. Then I think nothing happened for a number of years. That was sort of the, oh no, that's not true. That was 83 was Swordfish Trombones, 85 is Rain Dogs, 87 is Frank's Wild Years. Then 5-year gap goes by, and he produces Bone Machine. Oh my gosh, this is a good one. Bone Machine, I don't have on wax. It's an expensive one. It hasn't been repressed. And I really would love this. This one's got, and the earth dies screaming, Lord, I bleeding. It's so good. And this one has this one's got David Hidalgo from Los Lobos, Les Claypool, which I didn't know, I don't think I knew until tonight, and Keith Richards on this. And this won a Grammy for the best alternative record. And Tom Waits famously said, alternative to what? Which I just love. And the photo this was the video. There's a video, I don't want to grow up. And I think he's wearing like a costume like this. But this photo is by Jesse Dillon, who is Bob Dylan's son. And let's see. He's playing a lot of drums on this. This is where he starts bringing in like the washing machine and the trash can lids and the 2x4s. And this is a lot of that. He says that he played a lot of drums and percussion on this. And He said he likes to play when he's angry because it's therapeutic. So then after that came, then I think we had another little gap. Oh, not so much. That was 92. But then we went to Black Rider. Black Rider is another really expensive vinyl. Super expensive. I think probably more expensive than Bone Machine. But I'm very happy. Even the CD is expensive. I guess maybe the CD is also out of print. This is also on Island Records. And this was famously a play that was played in Hamburg, Germany, that was written by the very famous theater artist Robert Wilson, who's famous for, what is it, Einstein, what is it? I wrote it down somewhere. I forgot what it is. I didn't write it down, maybe. Einstein on the Beach. And William Burroughs. And when they performed it, it's the story, it's based on this German folklore where there's this like magic bullet. The one of the characters gets these magic bullets, and they can, it's from like 150 years ago, and the magic bullets allow him to shoot anything, and he accidentally kills his lover. And it's very weird and very avant-garde. And Tom Waits said about the actors who played the roles that it was either the insane asylum for them or this play, because it was just so insane, and it was you got a complete vision of Robert Wilson's ideas, and he just completely turned your world upside down, according to Tom Waits. Pathos and comedy turned upside down by the theater. And there's a funny video where Tom Waits calls Bob Wilson at like 4 a.m, and he's like, "Bob, I've got something for you." And Bob says, "I'm sleeping in Copenhagen at 4 a.m, or whatever it was. And he says, and he sings to him in this beautiful falsetto voice, according to Bob Wilson. And he says, "I didn't know I could do that, and I just wanted to share it with you." So it's quite a little funny moment. Then 6 years go by, and my favorite record comes out. Mule Variations. This record, I was very, very fortunate to get to see Tom Waits live in concert when he was promoting this record, or when he was on tour with these songs. This is a really special record to me. I mean, it's a great record. This one's got Big in Japan. I'm big in Japan. I'm big in Japan. This one's got you got to get behind the mule. House Where Nobody Lives. And Picture in a Frame, which is, my God, one of the prettiest songs you ever heard. Ever since I put your picture in a frame. It's got Chocolate Jesus. It's got Georgia Lee, which is like one of the saddest songs ever. And it's got Filipino Box Spring Hog. It's got Eyeball Kid. And it's got Come Up to the House, which is like a sort of, crossing the river. What's the river name? It's like, it's Jordan Shores. It's very, very intense. Very intense record. Is this a gatefold? I think it is, yeah. Yeah, okay, well, it's just the lyrics. I think I got this on CD. I think CD came first and then the record came after, but this is like, he said this was surrural. It's like surreal and rural. Suburban, maybe it was. No, surrural. He made a word. It's kind of surrural. Half surreal, half rural. I can't even say it. But God, this is a killer record. And the concert, I saw it at the Paramount Theater in Denver. Probably the best concert I ever saw. Truly, probably the best concert I ever saw in my whole life. Following that record, a few years later let's see, did I miss anything about, I'll mention about Mule Variations. He started to bring in these sounds from his earlier days. It's like he went, like he course corrected a little bit. Like the Island Years went so crazy to this like gong ta ka gong ka ka pum 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 pum, these crazy avant-garde sounds, and he started to bring back. They never really went away, but somebody wrote about him. He humanized the percussive battered bone machine records, and this was also the first record on the Anti label, which was like a sub label. I don't know what you call it, of Epitaph. There's the Epitaph and there's the Anti label. Now Epitaph is a punk label, and Anti was sort of like an indie label, and on Island they were like recording like the Eagles, or I should say Eagles, and he just was tired of like getting ignored. Island apparently liked to like mention his name as like a prestigious artist, an artist, but they didn't really support his endeavors. And so he went to Epitaph and was like, you guys are like supporting artists, and this is where I think I want to be home. And they were like, are you kidding me? We're like giant fans. And they couldn't believe that this is the place that he wanted to call home. So it was like really cool, super Tom Waits choice, Tom Waits move. And so he went and recorded that. Mule Variations was his first on Anti. I know this is such a long video, but the next two albums that came out were Alice and Blood Money. These two records came out together. This Alice was a play of the same name, or it had a play, also a collaboration with Robert Wilson, and there was a musical with a different name called Wojciech. I'm not sure what it was, but they were both musicals, or musical and a play. This one is Lewis Carroll's Alice, and I'm not sure what Wojciech is, but now I'm really curious. This one was slightly more acclaimed than this one, but they came out together. They kind of look similar. And I mean, this one's got Alice, this tune Alice. I mean, like I said, it's Lewis Carroll's Alice. It's so haunting song. This is a haunting record. This one's spooky. Very, very morbidly beautiful. It's got which is like apparently doesn't mean anything. It's got Flower's Grave. No one puts flowers on a flower's grave. It's got Tabletop Joe, which is like this circus tune about this guy who's like doesn't have any body. He just is like a head and feet, basically. It's got Reaper Bond, which is terrifying. It's got Fish and Bird, which is an amazing song that a sailor comes into a bar and tells all the bar people. And it has Poor Edward. And Poor Edward is about an actual guy named Edward Mordoke, I think, who was born, should I tell you this? Who was born with another face on his head that would speak to him at night, and it drove him to suicide. And some say he was relieved, but I say she drew him to hell. It's really spooky record, and very beautiful too. So Alice, yeah, this is another. I had an Alice in my life at this time, so this one's kind of special to me. What's up, Alice? And oh my God, I'm just going for it. What came after Alice and Blood Money? Real Gone. I'm gonna kind of skim over Real Gone. This one came out in 2004, which is the year that I came to Japan, and I bought this like as soon as I got here. As soon as I found out that and I've actually like listened to it the least. I don't really know this record. I'm gonna give this record a couple listens over this like tomorrow and the next day. But let's see, what do we have on here? I think this is it. I think I read about this. And this one's got some political songs on it. He eventually started. 2004 was the war in Iraq, and Hoist That Rag is on here, which I think Hoist That Rag is like hoist that flag, hoist that rag. Sins of My Father. Day After Tomorrow is a proper protest song. I'm gonna give this one a listen this weekend. Then you've got Orphans Orphans. And these were described as songs that fell behind the stove while they were cooking dinner. There's what do we have? Bastards, Ballers, and what's the other one? Brawlers. Is that what they are? Yeah, no, Ballers. I forget. Brawlers, Ballards, and Bastards. Okay, so Brawlers is the one that's like, it was 56 songs. It was like, it was songs that they didn't, 26 of them were songs that they didn't use, and then 30 of them were new songs. And my God, there's so many good songs on here. But Brawlers is the sort of like rock and roll bluesy one, and Ballers is like the ballads, and Bastards is sort of the weird avant-garde weirdo ones that maybe didn't have a place on either Ballers or Brawlers. This one's got what does it have? Fish in the Jailhouse, Bottom of the World, Lost at the Bottom of the World. I sing this one with my son. Lucinda. What else is on here? Rains on Me. That's an amazing one. Hey Ho. Let's see. Oh, this is some spoken word stuff. This is like some, there's some like kind of spoken word. It's like sort of jazzy, or sort of like poetry. It's quite nice. And then Bad As Me. Oh, then Bad As Me, which I don't actually, but it was the first Tom Waits record that I bought on iTunes, Bad As Me. That is also a really good album. I know that I don't own the physical media, but he debuted it by having this hilarious press conference to no one. It's on YouTube. Look up Tom Waits press conference. That one's got Chicago, Raised Right Men, Bad As Me, Last Leaf on the Tree with Keith Richards. They sing this together. So good. Hell Broke Loose is about a guy who's like in a tank firing cannons, and he's like blown out his ears. And it's got New Year's Eve on it. New Year's Eve is the door. It's a song that he did what he did kind of with Tom Traubert's Blues, which is he took like a melody like Waltzing Matilda and made a whole new song out of it. He did the same thing with Auld Lang Syne. He took Auld Lang Syne and he made this story about it. And it's these people who are freezing in their house, and they don't know, and it's raining and it's snowing, and they know, and Frank's drunk, and this problem was going on, and they finally all sing "May Old Acquaintances." It's really a charming song. New Year's Eve, and I sang it once on. I did one of these live. I did an Instagram live thing or whatever, and I recorded myself. It wasn't even live. I recorded myself with my camera, and I posted it, and I just like dared myself to put it out there. I sang it at my piano right here, and I got a lot of people were like, "Hey man, you should do more of that." That's why I started all those like one take song recordings. If you haven't seen them, maybe you can, if you're interested, you can friend me on Facebook and you can check them out. And okay, I'm stopping here. This is the final one. This is Real Gone. Oh, no. Oh yeah, here we go. Sorry. Real Gone. I got it right. Glitter and Doom. This is a live album, which I have on CD and I have on vinyl. I wanted it on vinyl, but I think when it came out originally, it wasn't on vinyl. It was only on CD. And this is even better than Big Time. This is a live record. A lot of it is recorded in my hometown in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Well, not a lot of it, but like 2 or 3 songs I think I read about it. There's the track list. And it starts out with Lucinda ain't going down. It goes like into Lucinda ain't going down. This is one of the best album starts that you could ever imagine. And oh my God, it sounds so good. And it's got everything from all the eras. It's got Singapore, Get Behind the Mule from Mule Variations. It's got Fannin Street, which is an earlier, I don't know when, but it sounds like a jazz tune. It's got Falling Down, I'll Shoot the Moon, which is a hilarious song, and Make It Rain, Lucky Day. And then on disc 2, it has Tom's Tales. And the vinyl doesn't have Tom's Tales. It's got like 4 sides, or even, 4 sides of music, but it doesn't have the Tom's Tales. Or I think one of these came with a book. it can't, I think maybe the record came with a book. But this is the second disc on this is hilarious, and he tells stories about like it's just stories. It's just him the chatter that he talks about between songs, and like he's like, you know, you ever wonder why, you know, vultures, you know, what are they doing? What are those vultures doing? Or like, you know, I bought Henry Ford's last dying breath on eBay. You know, it's just, this is hilarious Tom Waits-isms. And actually, I love this record. And it would be, I'd be hard pressed to not put this in my top 5. This one sounds so good. It's so loud, and it's so, not loud in like a compressed way, but just, it fires out of the speakers. It's really, really good. And he's just, this is what I remember him being like on the stage when I saw him. He had like dirt all over the stage, and he had these boots, and he was like kicking up the dirt like a bullfight. And there was, the drummer had like this big sort of like suspended like iron ring, like a fire, you know, like a motorcycle would jump through this giant ring in front of him, and he would pound it with like a hammer, and this like dust, this like smoke ring would like come off into the audience, while Tom Waits' like mirror ball hat would like shimmer all over it, and he'd pull the handkerchief out of his pocket and confetti would fly everywhere. I mean, it's like a dream. Totally like a dream. I'm very, very grateful. I had the good fortune to see Tom Waits. So I am happy to have gotten to share that with you. Happy birthday to myself for getting all the way through that. A few Tom Waits records I still need to get. Maybe I'll treat myself to a Tom Waits records for my birthday. Yeah, Tom Waits is one of my all-time faves. I kind of go in and out of him, but I think the thing that I really, really love about Tom Waits is, you know, he's a chameleon. And the first point that I found of him was, you know, this like edgy, angsty, like growly thing that just expressed my, you know, my youth at that time. And then I went backwards and found out that he had this was like soulful, heartfelt jazz singer and like piano player. And I'm a sucker for ballads, and I'm a sucker for the sentimental, and, you know, and just good old, you know, good old fashioned love songs. And, you know, I grew up on 70s, you know, just pop on the radio. So he's got those sort of, you know, Neil Diamond-ish tunes, but they're better, you know. And so he's really, and his latest stuff is, it's not really, his middle stuff isn't a bridge between his early stuff and his old stuff. It's really the later stuff that he's doing right now, the current things that he's doing now. It's really a bridge between these other two chapters that he had in his life. It's kind of an interesting out of order chronology, and it's just, he's just oozes coolness. So Tom Waits, I love you. I love your music. I salute you so much. And I'm so glad that I get to share this and just get to listen to this music sometimes. And, you know, it's that time of year. So there you go. All right, guys, if you like this, like and subscribe. I should start saying that. This is Tokyo Record Styles, you know, side project, or the YouTube thing. I will probably not go this in-depth into another video ever again. This is a one-time blowout deal. So thanks for sticking with me to the end here. And until next time, take care, have fun, have a great weekend, and maybe I'll see you out there at the record store.